Hi everyone, thanks so much for being here. My name is Kat and I make houseplant videos here on Good and Planty. If you just so happen to absolutely love this video, please consider liking it, commenting, subscribing, or following me on Instagram. All of these things help me grow my channel like a plant. Now, if you are watching this video, you may have found that some of your plants are starting to look like this, or maybe some of this. And the good news is, for some of the houseplants that you might have, that is actually completely normal during certain seasons. Your plant is probably just going dormant, and for those of you who are entering fall right now, like I am here in Philly, a lot of your plants are going to start to die back right now. Two of the most common houseplants that might start to go dormant right now are caladiums and oxalis triangularis. I think I'm saying that right. Some alocasia might also be going dormant, but I have talked about that in a previous video that I will link up above. You know, there are a couple other houseplants that go dormant during the fall and winter seasons, but I'm just going to be talking about caladium and oxalis because I think that those are the two plants that a lot of people struggle with right now. So in this video, I'm going to be sharing a little bit of information as to why your plants are going dormant and why that's important, and then also what to do with your plant while it's going dormant. So let's just get into it. Let's start with, why do plants go dormant? Why does that happen? Why are your plants dying? Well, many bulb plants, and I put bulb in quotes because I'll touch on that later, but a lot of bulb plants go dormant during the off seasons. Basically what is happening is your plant's bulbs needs to kind of just like store and produce energy to push out that beautiful foliage the next growing season. Dormancy gives them the time to do so. So even though the foliage might be dying back, your plant is still very much alive and just needs some time to rest. Fall is the time to start looking for certain signs and thinking about plant dormancy. Now, a quick little thing on bulbs so that I don't get anybody in the comments yelling at me. I know that bulbs are kind of used as an umbrella term for, I think, rhizomes, tubers, corms. The correct umbrella term is actually geophyte because bulbs are a separate thing, but I'm probably going to be using bulbs incorrectly throughout the video. I'm aware of that, but I think that that's just kind of like the regular term everybody's used to, so honestly that's probably what's going to come out of my mouth. I believe, if we're getting down to the nitty-gritty and being completely correct, I think that caladium and oxalis are both tuberous plants, but please clarify down below if I'm incorrect in that. I'm not completely sure what the deal with oxalis is. I'm pretty sure it's tuberous. So if you can enlighten me, please let me know in the comment section. Some signs that your plant wants to go dormant is that your foliage is gonna die back and the growth is gonna kind of stop. That's pretty much all there is to it. It will happen probably over a couple weeks, and when you kind of notice your plant starting to decline in that way, just cut back on the watering and it'll help kind of ease your plant into dormancy, because your plant is now going to be using less energy and therefore needs less water. Once your plant is kind of like at a halfway point, you can start thinking about using these little tips that I'm going to share. And I will show you once again. This is a great example of a plant that is ready to go dormant for the fall and winter with my help. You see I have some dead foliage that I left for you guys. And the rest of the leaves are kind of drooping, and I did cut down on watering quite a bit. I do have some new growth points, so honestly, if I wasn't making this video, I probably could have helped this plant shoot out a little bit more growth before the end of its season, but for the sake of this video, I did cut back on watering a little bit sooner than I could have, but there's no harm in cutting back on watering a little bit early. So now you've identified your plants that are going dormant. What do you do about it now? So let's talk about two different options for taking care of your plants going dormant. There are several ways to do this, but I'm just going to be sharing the two ways that I feel comfortable sharing and have some experience in. Option 1 is going to be keeping the bulbs in the pot, in the soil during the fall and winter months while it is dormant. This option is definitely the quickest and easiest option, but it is a little bit more risky compared to option number 2, which I will talk about later. There's truly really only 2 steps to this option. Basically, what you're gonna do is just take your plant and cut down all of the foliage to the soil line. And you have 2 options here. You can either just do it all at once, or you can do it leaf by leaf as the foliage is slowly dying off. I'm gonna go ahead and just chop all the foliage off because I am making this video. Once all your foliage is dead and gone, go ahead and just take the pot and the saucer or whatever and place the whole thing in a dry, I'm gonna emphasize dry, dark and warm environment. The temperature should be between 55 and 60 degrees Fahrenheit throughout the entire time of it being dormant. And then once you do that, it's kind of just forget about it for the winter seasons, and then once March rolls around, you can go ahead and take it out and kind of bring it back from dormancy, but that could also be a completely separate video, and I will not talk about that here. That is option number 1, and I believe I inserted video footage of me doing that to 1 caladium and my oxalis. I have done this option before with multiple other plants that go dormant, including my albucospiralis, which is actually entering its growing season now, and I've personally had success with this, and I think it's really fast, easy, and clean, which is so nice when living in an apartment. If you read about it, it might seem like the riskier option compared to option number 2 that I'm going to share, but I personally really like it and I've had great success with it. Now let's talk about option number 2. Option number 2, like I said before, is definitely going to be a little bit more involved and take a lot more time than option number 1, but in general, people claim that it has more success. This is my first time doing this option, but it's pretty straightforward and I'm just kind of sharing with you what I researched. We'll see what happens in the springtime. So for this option, you're gonna go ahead and take your potted plant and just remove it from the pot and loosen up that soil. Take as much soil as possible off of the plant and then go to your little sink and rinse off the tubers because you want to get them as clean as possible. I also snipped off most of the roots. I didn't go crazy right down to the tuber, but I did snip off most of the roots. Once you have your funny little tuber looking things, you can go ahead and put them down on a paper towel, and you have to let them dry for a full week. That is not as snappy as option number 1, but you do want to let out any excess moisture from the tubers and they will shrink over that week. Once the week has gone by, you are ready to store your tubers. I will store mine in a paper bag, but you can also do it in a cardboard box. The main idea here is to have something breathable. So a plastic container, for example, would not be good for storing your tubers. No matter what container you're using, just try to keep a little bit of space between the tubers. I'm probably going to go ahead and use 2 separate bags to store all 3 of my tubers. You can either just plop the tubers in the container, or you can put down a little bed of peat moss or perlite. It kind of is up to you. I'm using peat moss because I have some extra and I think it's a good way to kind of just protect the tuber a little bit. Once your tubers are all happy in their new winter home, you can go ahead and place that container in a dry environment that is pretty dark and again at least 55 to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so that's gonna be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like I said, dormancy is such an important time for some of your plants to rest, just like us humans need to do. So it's really crucial that you take the time to properly help your plant get a little snooze in for the winter seasons. Let me know if you have any additional dormancy tips in the comment section. As I said, there's multiple ways to do this, but this is just the option that I found easiest and have either tried myself or felt like it was the most, recommended method. So that's pretty much it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!